Hello friends and subscribers, I hope you're all doing well. In this video I'm going to be going over the topic of the Beatles' 1967 release, Magical Mystery Tour, and going to be debating on whether it's a true album or not. Now obviously it's completely subjective. I mean, some fans do consider it an album, some fans don't. But we'll get to more on that later. So, yeah, the Beatles released Magical Mystery Tour as an EP, a double EP, as a soundtrack to their TV special of the same name. And the EP included the 6 tracks, Magical Mystery Tour, The Fall on the Hill, Flying, Blue Jay Way, Your Mother Should Know, and I Am the Walrus, as they were the songs from the TV special. But the American record company, Capitol, they didn't want to release the EP because the EP format wasn't popular in America, so they wanted to release it as a full album. So what they did was, because the Beatles had some singles that they released in 1967 that hadn't appeared on a US album yet, because of course in the UK the Beatles didn't like to include previously released singles on their albums, but in America, you know, the Capitol felt that it was necessary to include the singles on the albums. So they just gathered together all the singles that have been released in 1967, and then they bulked it up into a full-length album. So all the songs from the EP were all put on side 1, and then on side 2 they added Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, Baby You're a Rich Man, and All You Need Is Love. So that's basically how the Magical Mystery Tour album came to be. But then, 9 years later, in 1976, the album version was finally released in the UK. And British fans liked this so much, they actually liked this a lot better than the EP. And they were so impressed with it that when the Beatles' catalogue was released on CD in 1987, this finally became part of their official catalogue. And ever since then, it's now considered a true, canon studio album. But even today, there are still some fans who don't consider it a proper album. So the question is, do you consider this a proper studio album? Now, in my opinion, I think it is a proper studio album, because all of the songs on this album are all from 1967, and none of them are available on any other studio album. So yeah, and since it was released along with all the other UK albums when the CDs came out, and even on the box set, the 2009 remasters stereo box set that came out, this is included in the set. Now, on the back of the box set, it says, I don't own the box set, by the way, I never bought it, but I've seen people on YouTube who do own it, and there's a thing on the back that says includes all 13 original studio albums. Now, 13 includes this one. So yeah, it is a studio album, even if it wasn't originally intended by the Beatles to be an album I do consider this a true album, and I've always known it as an album. You know, for like, it wasn't until 4 years ago, 2019, that's when I found out that it was an EP. So yeah, I first heard this album in 2011. So yeah, I actually remember my first time hearing this. I was staying with my grandparents, and we drove to the beach one day. So yeah, they had some CDs playing in their car, and one of them was this album. Not this exact copy, obviously. I think they still have their copy. This is my copy, and yeah, I remember loving it so much. And that's actually the year that I was just getting into the Beatles, where I became a huge fan. So yeah, for like my first 8 years of of being really familiar with this album, I had no idea that it was an EP in the UK. But yeah, I've always known this as a studio album. And it's my personal favourite Beatles album, if I'm honest. You know, I like this better than Sgt. Pepper. I love Sgt. Pepper, don't get me wrong. I mean, who doesn't, right? But this is my favourite Beatles album, and it always has been. You know, I love every song on here. You know, I've played this album so much, and I just never get tired of listening to it. I love that cover as well. And of course, when the EP was released, it didn't have the orange border around it, or the song titles at the top and the bottom. It was just that picture there, you know, with the Beatles written in stars, Magical Mystery Tour written in rainbows, and the Beatles dressed in the animal costumes. That was the picture that was on the EP. But on the American album, the orange border was added. But I like it like this, actually. It's a really good. It's just very trippy, very colourful. Yeah, fantastic album. So yeah, no matter what anyone thinks, to me, it's a true Beatles album. But what do you think? Do you consider it a true Beatles album or not? I hope you enjoyed this debate. Give the video a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe for more content. Click the bell so you don't miss an upload. And as always, I'll be back with another video real soon. Take care.